Apparently not. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm sure a fair amount of you guys were waiting, but it is 8 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is actually a pretty hot topic. So, based on the Twitter comments I saw on the announcement tweet, we are going into some treacherous waters, but please kindly reminder of, keeping things civil. We're all, on the same boat. We're playing the same damn game. We're all just having fun. So just keep it civil, respectful, and we'll go from there. But for this session, we do have Truth, Tiger, Nolar, and Toonrami. Kind of mix it up a little bit between JP and Global, so hopefully we get kind of, good narratives between the two different versions. So I guess to start off, guys, I guess we should give it to, Global guys first in terms of if there actually is a global shaft, if it's real or if it's actually a myth. So we'll just dive right into it. Tiger, you want to go ahead and get started? I know we talked we talked offline and you sounded like you had some shit ready. So
I mean, this is just a topic that I've been, it's always asked on my streams, always asked on the videos. People constantly bring it up, and honestly, just as a content creator for this game, I don't really think it's necessarily a real thing, right? First of all, I don't really care about the whole global versus JP thing. I think people should just play the version they want, version that they prefer. So my personal opinion on it is generally speaking, global is pretty good. There's not that much shaft as far as the differences between the two versions, and we do have quite a few positives when it comes to playing the global version. Number one, we get to predict or at least kind of anticipate what's coming, right? So you can save your stones for certain units you want. And number two, we get the tickets, right, for dual Dokkan Fest, which is a huge plus compared to JP that doesn't get that.
Whoa, Tiger, what are you talking about? Those are only good for whales. What are you talking about?
Well, of course. Yeah, but for sure, man, I feel honestly, it's not really a real thing, and I know some people are gonna get pissed at me for that. They're gonna bring up the 300 stones thing, which is a whole different topic.
yeah.
But yeah, just from an objective standpoint, I don't really think it's real, and we can get into it, once we get deeper into the discussion.
Yeah, we'll have.
Was stupid, by the way. That literally had never had anything to do with global whatsoever.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was literally a bug that happened. That was compensation related to it, right? That's pretty much what happened. So.
And unfortunately, what happens is people now they just get it twisted with the Super Saiyan 3 Broly on the banner. Every time someone talks about 300 stones, people bring up the false advertisement from the Super Saiyan 3 Broly on that banner.
Right.
Every single time people get those two things twisted.
Yeah, and I guess one point to bring up is, things have changed versus how things were in the past. So I'm sure there could have been indications of some resemblance of a shaft, and we can get into the detailed topics here in a little bit after we run through everybody's opinion on it. But we'll certainly dive in and we'll talk about the details. We'll go from there. But I guess we got Toonrami, who's also repping global, right? We had to bring in someone else, Tiger. We didn't want to, gang up on you this time, so.
Oh, no, I'm glad you decided to bring Toon in, because it would have been 3-on-1 if it was just me.
It's all good, man. I can transform into whoever you need, so we got plenty of backup, all right? What's good, everybody?
That's true.
What's good?
Here we go again. Here we go again.
That's it, I promise. That's it. My voice is on the mend, so that's about all I can do, and we're not going to do anymore. But to kind of feed off of what Tiger was saying, the way that I see it, it's not a shaft. I like to weaponize it in terms of this is an advantage for global players, because maybe the only thing that you can maybe complain about is that we don't get to experience the new shiny toy right as it arrives on the shelves. But as far as being a smart player, being an economical player, the advantage of having the ability to plan ahead, scout ahead, you can kind of manage your stones, you can manage your expectations, you can also prep certain units to be ready for SA fuel and things like that. I see it as an advantageous situation for global players. I don't need to be the first one to get the newest, biggest, brightest iPhone. I know it's coming. Eventually I'll be able to get it. You know what I mean? So I just like to see it that way. Instead of feeding into this whole meme about the global shaft, it's just we're slower. That's all. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is certainly a good point. By the way, thanks David Stiles for the donation. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say with JP, right? And we'll get into Truth, who's quote unquote very opinionated on certain things, and I'm sure you have all kinds of things you want to say, and Nolar too as well. But it's a little bit different for us, right? Because we see it from the other side, whereas Toon and Tiger, you guys are on the global side. So with that being said, I guess we'll start. Truth, do you want to go ahead and spark this up and get it out of your chest?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just the global player base. There's just a lot more in this community, right? Like most people are only just playing global, like they're not really playing JP and stuff like that. So it's just, I mean, really, it all just boils down to the fact that JP gets 99% of stuff first. I mean, if that didn't happen, all the shaft talk and stuff like that wouldn't really be that big of a deal. I mean, I imagine there still would be issues that would crop up only on certain versions, right? So let's say global and JP are on the same timeline. Maybe on JP they do mess up the banner art and then they get a refund or something like that. Like stuff like that's gonna still happen. But I would think people aren't going to be as upset about every little thing if the games weren't spread out the way they are, right? Where global is typically about 4 months behind is usually what they do. I mean, it's just that both versions too have a lot of pros and cons. I mean, it's just that simple. Like, again, the tickets, people like to say that it's only really usable for whales and stuff like that, but that's not true. It's just if you don't spend your stones like a crackhead on every single banner, and especially save them for those types of banners, you're doubling your stones. Like, it's insane. Like, those Vegito and Gogeta banners, like, if people don't summon from, I don't know, what was the actual last good global banner, like the really super hype you can't pass up?
Cooler? Man, what was the last hype global? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Tune? What was the last one?
Namek Goku?
Hell no. Hell
no.
I don't even remember. I'm trying to remember. I don't.
It might be the cooler banner, maybe.
I would say like AGL LR Gohan is the type of banner I'm talking about. That's the last one.
Man, that's ancient.
Player,
yeah.
And you haven't summoned like crazy since then, like you're gonna go into the 5th anniversary and you're good because you're gonna get all of those free tickets, like dozens, hundreds of summons maybe of free summons that JP players can't get.
It's a ridiculous argument to say that only whales can take advantage, because if you look at the last 2 banners we got with the Super Saiyan 2 Goku, Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, it's 110 stones for 4 multis plus a multi worth of tickets. So you're spending 220 stones, you get 2 more multis from tickets. Like, how's that only benefiting whales, right?
Well, I mean, they give out the very, very small amount of free tickets, right? Which for most people probably isn't going to mean that much. It's going to be a couple of SRs and rares, right? But there's people out there that got LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku just from the login tickets. You know, that got Super Saiyan 3 Goku from the login tickets. That there's 0 people that got that on JP.
Exactly.
Yeah, you definitely brought some interesting points. I mean, the tickets is one thing that does distinguish between JP and global, and chances are JP will never get tickets. I mean, that's just kind of my own assumption here, but I mean, you guys agree with that? Probably, most likely, we won't end up getting tickets going forward, right?
No, absolutely not.
Oh,
Is there a particular reason behind that? I'm not really tuned in with the JP scene. Why is it exactly that we have the Pilaf's Trove and things like this in for us, but you guys don't have anything like tickets?
Yeah, I don't know what the origination of tickets were. Do you guys remember when they first introduced that on the global side? Like what year or what banner that was?
Tiger, that's on you, man. I haven't been around that long.
Man.
Pop quiz, asshole.
No, I didn't come that prepared. Wait, Truth, were you saying something?
No, it wasn't Asia. Well,
It's been a while, right?
They had something on the Rose and Vegito Blue banner that completely took us by surprise.
Rose and Vegito Blue. I don't think those had tickets. I could be wrong.
There was something about them that was different than JP though. I think it might have just been discounts on the first couple.
Discount on multis.
Well, how long has 3+1 been around for?
Forever,
right?
Yeah, it's been around for a little while. I don't know what year they first introduced it, but I don't know. It's been so long. It's kind of hard to remember.
That might have been Gogeta and Janemba. Was the first
Yeah, the first
Yeah,
anniversary.
yeah, that might
That's
actually make
that's when it
sense.
first
Yeah.
came up. The 3+1 and the timer, like the 7,
Yep,
for 77
yep.
hours. That's what it is. I think with Global, the tickets came out. I don't know. It hasn't been around for a while, that's for sure. Because I played Global around first year anniversary, or up until then. So it must have been anywhere from like second year on, is when their tickets kind of came out. So
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm not sure why we don't have it. Like, I asked Talon, is there like specific gacha laws or anything in terms of like subscription things? But like, Legends has all that stuff, so you know, they're just kind of curious as to why they don't implement that kind of monetization.
Well,
I guess
for the ticket specifically, it kind of seems like Bandai maybe realizes that there is some kind of you know, there's a certain percentage of the global player base that does feel like it's a little bit unfair, I guess, that JP gets everything first, and it just feels like it's their way of trying to balance that out a little bit.
Through the guise of having to pay a bit more for those like extra tickets from the Pilaf Trove and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm reading through the comments, and I see quite a few saying the tickets were introduced with the download celebration banner. I guess I don't know. That's what I'm seeing here. I don't know if that's
Was that Super Saiyan 4, Gogeta and Omega, like 250? Is that what it was?
I don't think
I don't
they were
remember
there
tickets for
that
those.
banner.
But either way, that's really one of the key distinguishing points, right, between JP and Global. So like outside of that,
Absolutely.
Nolar, like what else comes to mind when you're thinking about the whole debate of Global Shaft? Like what other examples come to mind when it comes to that?
Discounted multis, at least for the first set on 3+1, discounted multis are great for Global. JP's, the only time we've ever had discounted multis on JP was the GLRs, right? That's the only
Yeah,
first time I can think
yeah.
of. So, you know, I mean, like discounted multis on the first round of step ups is great, because there's really no excuse if you're a free to play player and you are not a crackhead and spending it every time. But if you've got like, you know, what is it, like 20, 30, then 50, 40, or what's the step up
I
like?
think it's usually something like
30,
30,
35.
35, 45 or something like that.
Yeah, I think they skipped
Okay,
the
so-
40.
So
Okay,
is it like different amounts of units per multi with each step up, or how does that
No,
work?
it's the same. It's the same. It's
Multi
just
with each step.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it's
So it's just straight up like just a nice little bonus that we
discount, yeah.
get. Yeah,
And in
Because-
some cases, do you guys get tickets with that as well, or no?
we do. We get tickets with the discounts.
Okay.
And
you obviously get less because it depends on how many stones you spend, right? So it's
Right.
a little bit
So
less.
there's
no, I think you still get the same amount of tickets. You just get less coins because it's less stones.
That's what I meant. Coins.
Yeah,
Not.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
But I think as far as like true global shaft goes, there's only like one or two examples I can think of where like it just made no sense. Like for example, during I think it was the download celebration last year, when the LR Androids banner came out, the top legendary summon. For some reason, Tech Broly was just not on that banner. Right?
I
That
remember.
made no
I
sense.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a true global shaft.
I assume. I don't even know, because he was on JP's.
Yeah,
right?
he
I don't-
was. He
Yeah,
was.
and he came out first on global. It just made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I remember. I did a collab on that during that celebration. I ended up pulling Tech Eller Broly with someone else that was on global, and that was like a slap in the face. I remember that.
Oh yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
that's
No, I was just gonna say like that's a shaft for Global, but not as a result of like something JP did. You know what I mean? It's just that's the
Yeah.
Koski screwing up onto themselves.
Oh, no, of course, yeah. It's not JP players' fault or anything. That's just Bandai screwing up.
So let
Is that
me.
ever addressed? Because I know that a lot of people were pretty vocal about it, as well as someone in this group. I'm not going to name names. And yeah, after Tiger talked about it, did they do anything?
Are you dropping a dime right now? Is that what you're doing?
No, it's nothing bad. It's nothing bad. It's like it's real. That's like I'm glad that he voiced his opinion about it because it was true. And so I just wanted to know like if they actually did anything as far as addressing that
No, you're talking about the Broly thing, right?
Yeah.
So there was a follow up to it where someone messaged Bandai and they got back to them, and it was actually like a real person that replied, and they basically said like, "We meant to do this. This was on purpose." That was literally the reply. Like it was not a mistake because what they said in their email was, "Hey, did you guys forget to put Tech Broly on the banner for global?" And the reply was, "This was intentional. Like this was what was supposed to happen, essentially."
I feel like, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can just believe that, right? Like they, might
It
have
could
made
be
a
covering
mistake,
their ass, right?
but then at that point they would just double down on it and say, "Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
meant that."
Yeah, that's fair enough. But
Let-
yeah,
Let me throw a little monkey in the wrench. What about when it comes to top grossing? Because I feel like there are some discrepancies between the two versions. Like we're typically used to 30 stones, 50 stones on the JP side. Is that normal tradition on global, or because the reason why I ask is I periodically see the 7 stones for whatever, you know what I mean? So I don't really know the whole details behind it. So if you guys want to go ahead and get into some of the nitty gritty of it, feel free to.
so yeah, we've been getting 7 stones pretty often for top grossing on global these days.
Well, hold on. Let me jump in. So
Yeah.
okay, they used to do things a certain way with top grossing on global, right? Prior to Blue Cow Kengoku, which was a bit of a weird situation. Now, I never actually got the full scoop of what countries actually did hit top grossing. I don't know. But there's a way I need to word this because I did, talk to someone with some knowledge of some stuff, and after the Blue Kaioken Goku stuff, top grossing conditions were altered. They are doing it differently now than previous. So, and it was because of specifically the Blue Kaioken Goku situation. But again, I never actually saw what countries did hit top grossing because oftentimes people go so nuts, they just go so like insane with this, and they're like changing it to like action category and stuff like that. They're like, "Oh look, we hit it in France, in this place, in this place, in this place." But oftentimes all those countries are not even actually top grossing, right?
Yeah.
That's usually an issue. So, but for whatever it was, it definitely did feel like global should have gotten top grossing awards for the Blue Kaioken Goku banner though, and they didn't. And because of the monstrous amount of backlash from that, they did change it into where now they're giving out the 7 stones for country. So like, what was it, the God Goku banner, where you guys hit top grossing in like France and only France?
I think it was just France. I think it was just France, and we got 7
they
stones.
gave out 7 stones. Like previously, that's what they did before. They gave out 7 stones per country, but they wouldn't give it out until y'all hit multiple countries, like 4 or 5 or whatever it was, right? Now they'll give the stones just for like one country to not have a repeat of what happened before.
So is that cumulative based on the amount of countries that hit top grossing? For example, like let's say, I don't know, Belgium or whatever hits top grossing, you get 7 stones out of that, and whatever country next, like France, you get another 7 stones. Like I don't keep up with global, so I have no idea how that works out. So
what it seems to be is they wait a couple days after the banner comes out to see which countries or how many regions hit top grossing, and then it's just a one-time reward that we receive.
And
usually on like a Monday or something. Yeah,
that's a good point. Is that the reason it's oftentimes so different with JP and people can get upset is that, remember, JP, it's just Japan, right? Like, oh, you hit top grossing, boom, rewards, you got top grossing. Whereas with global, it is like, okay, there's like 5 billion different stores that they potentially get top grossing for. So that's why they typically do wait. Like that, I mean, you could say that's a global shaft, but at the same time, it is one of those things where they're waiting to see what's going on with what countries hit top grossing.
Right. Yeah, so it definitely seems like there are some different methodologies when it comes to how things are being undertaken by the development team on, JP versus global. So, the top grossing stones definitely is one of those items that seems to pop up when it comes to like the whole debate to begin with. But I guess, the next topic of discussion, right? And you guys can feel free to like, sorry, was anybody saying anything?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to make it clear to people with top grossing with JP is a very competitive market. This is the last thing I want to say. It's super competitive. So for you to actually hit top grossing, it is a very big deal because you have FGO, you've got Monster Strike, you've got all these other games that hit are consistently in the top 10, and for you to nudge them out to take top grossing, it is a humongous deal. So,
Right.
I mean, does it justify 30 stones? I don't know, but I'm just telling you guys, like, to them, that's their reasoning, and that's why they reward it the way they do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but JP recently hasn't been hitting top grossing like for every banner like it used to, right?
No.
Yeah,
Never
they've been talking about the financials, and I actually took a brief look at it. But I mean, Q1 2020, obviously with all the stuff going on, it's not as crazy as prior historicals. But you guys can feel free to add whatever commentary on top of that. But that's what I
The
heard.
only banner that it's kind of like, oh, that's not good. It's just Gotenks and Boo, because Blue
Yeah.
Falcon Goku is already out. Like and he's okay, right? Like basically, if you get like LR UI Goku and TUR Blue Goku and SSR God Goku, yeah, Blue Falcon Goku's as good as people think. But until then, not really, because that Spirit Bomb is not common, and you're not going to use it in most of the game either, right?
That's
So
fair.
like, and he's not brand new, so that didn't hit top grossing, which isn't a big deal. Saiyan Day, Bardock did get top grossing on JP. Like, I mean, that's not that far away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I do want to point out, by the way, for the viewers, I saw a comment on this. I did not mean to disrespect Belgium when I brought up Belgium. That was just the first country that came to mind. All right, like I didn't do that intentionally. So like,
you
so-
got a Belgium first.
yeah,
of
I
any country.
I wasn't riling up the crowd. All right, that's literally the first country that came to my mind when it came to Europe. All right, so I want to clarify that right now.
No, you know what's funny though is I often check top grossing, the status of top grossing situation on global like the day after the banner drops, and Belgium is always like in the mix for. Oh, first of all, I don't really understand why they're still being ranked if like in-game purchases are already banned, right? That's my understanding that they banned the loot box style purchases, right?
Yeah, what's the deal with that anyway right now?
So how if you go on like Sensor Tower or App Nan or App Annie, any of those like stats websites, like Dokkan is still ranked. They're still ranked like in the number 7 or number 5 or something like that right now. So how does that work exactly? Do you guys know?
I have no idea
no
personally.
So could that be potentially through vendors or some?
I mean, people are saying
third-party
VPN,
system?
right? People are saying VPN,
Well-
but yeah.
Okay, yeah,
The
that
problem with
makes
the VPNs though, like, you gotta download the app store. You know what? That kind of makes sense if it's VPNs. Actually, now that I think about it, it might be that, but I have no idea.
Well, I
to
was
be
just
sure,
thinking if
but
it's a VPN, like wouldn't it count you as having purchased in a different country, right? If you're using the VPN to like not be in Belgium.
Yeah, you're essentially masking your location by using a VPN, right? That's the whole
That's
purpose.
what I'm saying. Yeah, or you're putting your
No, it's based off of. I think it's based off of your Google Play like account. I think. I don't know. I have no idea actually. Because when Truth and I buy JP stones, maybe I like to think we contribute to that, but maybe we don't. If that's the case.
So it's
Yeah.
you guys who help us with top grossing once in a while. Oh.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Once-
Oh, by the way, I just saw a comment about this. Since we're talking about Tech LR Broly, did they ever add the voiceovers for the animations or no? Is that
No.
still
They
is that
haven't
still
called
pending?
me. Can you believe that? They have not called me yet.
What is up with that? Why
true global
it's
shaft right there?
it's
man.
been out
That-
for
You know what? Yeah, that is the real global. Oh my god, my
The real
voice is
global
giving out.
shaft.
Well, I mean,
That is the real global shaft. They have not called me yet. I've been throwing myself out there for these people, and they're not hitting me up.
Yeah, obviously some stuff went down last year. We don't have to go into the details about, the whole, involvement of what was related to it potentially, but it's what Tech LR Broly came out April of last year around that time. Is that right or no?
No, it would be
May.
May.
Okay.
It would be around this time.
So it's
I
been a
chose to block
year.
out when he showed up because I never got him.
So-
I assume it would have to be because of the Vic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
maybe in a couple of years they'll when they do those like not annual, but like regular updates to certain card arts and just overall, quality of life changes to certain units.
Yeah,
maybe
QL.
But,
they'll
I mean-
eventually implement something like that.
But I don't understand though, if that was really the case, why couldn't they just add the JP voiceover as something,
Precisely. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you don't have to use the English voiceover or whatever. Just give us whatever JP has right now.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they're being lazy or they forgot about it, whatever the case is. But I mean, I forgot.
Maybe it would just fuel discussion though if they were to do that, because then it would make it glaringly. I mean, either way, it's kind of a lose-lose situation because no matter how you look at it, you're going to see that there's nothing there. But adding a JP voiceover instead of both of them, it might maybe draw more attention to the fact that there is no English voiceover.
I mean, that's certainly a good point. I think they're probably just laying low, kind of letting it blow over without making any moves or anything. That certainly makes sense. So yeah. I can see that point.
I mean, to be fair, all he says is Kakarot. And
yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like you're missing much, guys.
Yeah.
I'm saying it again, man. I don't charge anything. I'm free.
It's not about what the actual thing is. It's just about the fact that have it and JP has it, right?
It's the principle. It's the principle, right?
It's the principle. Yes. Principle.
All right.
Principle, but yeah. All right. Moving on.
You guys want to? So you guys are warmed up. So you guys ready to get into the meat of the conversation? You know what just dropped on Global? So you want to get into that conversation about if there's actually a shaft or not?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
I don't know who wants. I don't know who wants to go first. Feel free to start, whatever. But all right, obviously, LR Ultra Instinct Goku happened. Agility Rose EZA happened. I was actually okay with the. I'll be completely honest here. I was actually pretty okay with the LR Ultra Instinct Goku because I was like, you know what, Global. They deserve some Global first stuff and. I'm not gonna lie, like Kefla can kiss my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like I would much rather prefer an LR Ultra Instinct Goku over a Dokkan Fest Kefla, which I assume they're gonna make pretty broken because of what's happening right now on the global side. But point being, once they announced Agility Rose's EZA, I was a little bit salty. I'm not gonna lie to you. So that's my 2 cents about it. So carry on, say whatever you want.
Wait, so you were more salty about the EZA than the LR?
Yep.
Too. Yeah, I mean, just because like around this time, you guys got like Tekka LR Broly, obviously LR Gohan and Goten came out on Global first, so like things like that do happen, right? Kaioken, Blue Goku, whatever. So you guys certainly deserve certain things to come out at certain times.
Well,
but
remember that the celebration was heavily nerfed when Global got it, right? Many things came with JP's version that did not come to Global.
Yep.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
Story event revamp, all that was
right. Yeah, and I guess for me personally, when you guys get stuff like that, obviously there are some, nerfs or handicaps or whatever the right terminology is for it. But, I'm not going to hold ill will necessarily because of certain things come out first in Global. My only saltiness, to be honest, was I was really looking forward to that EZA. And, we got Kefla and you guys got Ultra Instinct Goku along with the Rose. So it's kind of like a stacking effect for me. So I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit salty about it.
I mean, if anything, didn't we kind of see this coming? Maybe not exactly right now with the UI Goku, but we kind of saw that this was going to be coming because of that whole voting thing that they had, right, for Dokkan, where do you want to see the physical Vegito Blues EZA first, Global guys, or do you want to see the AGL Rose? They voted Vegito, so then it was kind of a natural progression of events, right? We were eventually going to get this too to show off first, and then eventually you guys would get it, right?
Honestly, I was pretty shocked to see the EZA for Rose on Global first because I was under the assumption that we would choose one or the other, and then JP would get the other one, right?
Oh, so, I didn't get that. I thought we were going to get them both first.
I thought it was just like choose one, Global gets that one first, and then JP will eventually get the other one before, like normal,
Since
right?
when would Global get to decide what JP got? That's weird.
That's what I thought it was going to be, but...
I mean, I would love that kind of a power dynamic, but I don't know if we're that lucky. I mean, this is a step in the right direction, right? With the UI Goku, this is a step in the right direction.
I think
maybe eventually we'll get
usually, with these Global first units, when JP gets the eventual unit, like in the past, they've gotten like a better celebration, right? Better banner a lot of times, new story event possibly, or something like that. This seems to be, their way of maybe correcting that and giving some Global something first as well as the unit, so that when JP eventually gets it, it doesn't feel like as much of a shaft if they get something new as well with the new unit.
The only thing that's weird about it to me is that, I mean, AGL Rose could very easily be built in a way where, he could be better in many situations than LR Rose, the EZA one. It's like, it is odd that they're dropping him before the LR. Like, I mean, I guess they're assuming that like LR Rose is going to get the money no matter what, right?
Yeah.
But that makes that legendary summon banner way less enticing. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, depending on how good the EZA itself is, yeah, I can see, you know, some curbed appetites going into that legendary banner for sure. And by the way, I'm seeing comments about this, and it's not necessarily that I'm salty by the way that Global is getting an EZA first. It's the particular unit in question that's getting the EZA. All right, so we're going to be very clear about that. I could care. I mean, I could care less if it was like other EZAs. Like, I'm all for it. You guys, you know, are well more than entitled to get stuff first. It's fine, but Rose is the reason I was salty. All right, let's just go ahead and get that out of there. So, all right, sorry. Carry on.
Well, one
Also-
thing that, like,
No, go
based on what you guys are saying about, you know, the upcoming int LR Rose for a 5-year anniversary, it leads me to believe that maybe this ECA is not gonna be like super impressive. You know what I mean? Just so
Yeah.
that people are still very much tempted to summon for the LR Rose.
Well, the high speculation at this point is the agility Rose is more or less a supporting type role, right?
Support unit,
That's really what people are feeling like is going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in that way, it's two different types of units, right? If you look at it, obviously it's not even going to compare to the LR version in terms of certain outputs or whatever, but skill sets they probably are going to differentiate between the two units going into it, right? I would assume.
Yeah.
As far as the marketing side of this whole thing, like you got to hand it to Bandai for what they did. I mean, this has got to be one of the most appealing, or I guess I don't even know what the right word is, but this is like one of the greatest traps we've ever seen on Global because it's working, and it's honestly like it's just. This is you got to hand it to him as a business move. This was the right move. As far as the rosé, it's a little weird, but as we were saying, as long as it's just cool enough where it's flashy and new, and we want to buy it, that's all that matters. And then eventually we'll forget about it because it'll be like 2 weeks. Everyone will start complaining. Oh, there's nothing to do. And then the 5-year rolls around, and ooh, shiny new things. Once again, we got a new rosé, and then people will go for that too. So as long as they are, you know, walking that fine line and making sure that they can string us along just right. I'm talking as a business, and I'm not being salty because I got to hand it to them. This was really, really well done. They're going to keep cashing in. So, like, I should be upset, I guess, because of the 5-year that's coming up. Like, I know that I want to go in hard for the 5-year. I want to channel my inner whale because I've got the potential. But with this, I kind of mini whaled out for this one. And I'm not too upset because, honestly, that UI scene, that animation is so beautiful. I am very happy that it's here, whether it's bad timing or not. I'm just happy that it's here because it's a really good unit and it's flashy and sexy.
Okay, wait. Really good unit, you say? Well, I think he's a little bit better than really good.
Yeah, okay, all right, I know. No, I know.
Number one. But people are very upset with me because, of course, I'm always the one that starts this.
I mean, you got the meme going, man. It's, you know what I mean?
People instantly were like, "Oh, here he goes, clickbaiting again," and I was just sitting there like, "No, I mean it. Like, I do think he's the best."
Let me
Because, like-
truth. Let me tell you why I like to walk on a fence these days. All right, I had this very traumatic experience. Tiger can attest to this. During the step ups on New Year's, I pulled LR Beerus for the first time. I'm still new to the game. I was started like at the 250 million downloads, all right? So I got the LR Beerus during the step ups, and I was a little not upset, but I was pretty bummed out because I still have a very limited knowledge base as to what's considered good, what's considered not. And I made a statement that fueled a lot of rage, including Tiger, because I talked to Tiger about it. So ever since that, I basically, long story short, I said LR Beerus was bad. As far as his passive, it doesn't seem to age compared to other units. Whether that's accurate or not, whatever. I got roasted for it. So since then, I like to walk the fence, like just stay right on top of the middle of the fence, just so that I don't, trigger anybody. So when I said really good, he's really good. That's still technically accurate. Now, as far as how good, I'm gonna leave that to you. But that's just my 2 cents on why I'm a wuss now when it comes to making outlandish statements.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. Everybody has a different approach, so I perfectly understand. So I actually do have one topic that I think would be a great one to discuss, and I'm seeing this a lot in the comment section. But before we get into that, I actually saw another good question, which is more of a generalized. We can kind of take a minute or two to take a break from this whole JP versus global debate. But I think Eric was the one that commented on here. But do you guys ever burn out of Dokkan? So just a one sentence comment about that from each of you guys would be kind of interesting to see.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tiger, go first.
It's just, I mean, it's a mobile game. It's a gacha game. It's not a game you can like. It's not like you're playing, I don't know, like Fortnite or whatever, where like you can just play all day and like play for as long as you want and still have things to do, right? As a mobile game, it's kind of meant to be like played in installments,
Bursts,
right?
short
In
bursts.
bursts, exactly. Yeah. So I do get burnt out on it. There does, there's always going to be a lack of content if you're, doing streams or videos where you're just like finishing all the new stuff as soon as they come out, right? That's just how it is. For the average player, I think what you're supposed to do really is like take your time and, grind a little bit at a time, right? But if you do it like us, right, like where we just finish everything first day, first night, or like first hour,
you gotta be the first to get it out, right?
exactly. You're obviously gonna start struggling to come up with content or just like burn out at some point, right?
Yeah, I perfectly understand. Truth, you probably are the individual that grinds more than anybody in here. So, question to you, man: do you ever burn out?
I mean, actually, not really. Surprisingly, I don't know. I actually really enjoy Dokkan. It's only
Not a
the World
surprise.
Tournament. Like, it's like there is a point usually like the second day where it's like, okay, it's not the first day anymore, and there's still another day I have to do this where it's just really crushing.
Let me tell you, by the way, this is how much Truth loves the game. He's grinding World Tournament as we speak. Is that right?
I would do exactly the same thing. I'm gonna go next. Because I'm basically with Truth on this. I've never, maybe like for 1 minute, one time, I was like, am I a little bored? But that's it. Like 99.999% of the time, I love this game. I play it constantly. Because for me, I've always subscribed to the notion that there's always something to do in Dokkan. There's never not something to do if you want to play it enough. And I'm still in that honeymoon phase because I'm still, new compared to you guys. But I still have a ton of things to do. Let's say I've maxed out all my units. There's still a bunch of stuff to do in the Incredible Gem Shop. There's still a bunch of random team loadouts I want to use for the LGE runs or this and that. I've never not found myself in a situation where like, wait, I don't want to play this. But the bonus of having it be a gacha game with the whole like stamina thing and that whole element, it has allowed me to play other games in between and keep things fresh on both. But like Truth was saying, I mean, I think it's worse for us over on global for the World Tournament. Like I try to place in the top 15, top 10, top 15 between there on the World Tournament consistently. The first night is kind of bad, but I get through it. The second day is the worst for me because I know that there's a third and a fourth coming up next.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
like, it's so agonizing because I have to constantly, I can't even talk to anybody. Basically, my friends know that when a World Tournament's coming up, they just don't talk to me anymore because they know they're not going to reach me because I'm on my phone constantly doing that. Every second that I spend, since I'm gunning for top 10, every microsecond that I spare doing something else is one less, interval of time that someone else can use to catch up. So like I'm constantly on that grind. I can't stop. So that is probably the only time that I wish that Dokkan didn't exist. But other than that, I love Dokkan and I play it constantly.
Yeah.
I never get tired of it.
Nolar, what about you, buddy?
I am at the end state of Dokkan. Like, there's really nothing else I could do. Rank 999, that was the first goal I had. So that's done. The only time I'm burnt out now is just like when I'm trying to create like new different content. Yeah, I gotta really delve to the depths of the creativity there, but that's kind of it. I mean, because now once I burn my stand for the day, there's nothing else for me to do. I just do some other stuff and come back. So technically I'm not really burnt out, but I'm not playing like I used to, like all day, every day. I'm not there anymore. So
Well, I think you guys stumbled upon, sorry.
Because like you don't want a Dragon Ball Legends scenario where you have to be playing the game every second of every
Right,
day.
exactly.
That's the worst.
Yeah, and personally, I think this is why out of all the mobile games that I've tried out in the past, I've just stuck with Dokkan Battle is because of the convenience of picking it up and then dropping it, coming back to it later.
Exactly.
Like whenever I feel like it, I can come back to it. Obviously, when new stuff comes out, or we're all content creators here, so like we have to be the first, one of the first to get it out or whatever. There's that rush period, but in the overall scheme of things, we do kind of get that opportunity or option to do whatever we please depending on how we go about it. So I don't know. That's personally my take on it, and I agree with Nolar. I play a little bit less than I used to, but I think it's just one of those phases where I kind of need to step away and whatever. Maybe I'm just getting cabin fever from all this crap going on right now. I don't know, but
well, I mean, the to your point, the best thing about it is it's such a casual pickup game, and there are things you can do to like grind all day, which I used to do, to get to rank 99 or whatever. But like it's really meant, as Tiger mentioned, it should be played in bursts, so like 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And the stamina system is encouraging that, because then, hey, I'll wait a couple hours, I'll go do something else, I'll get back to work, I'll go back to studying, then you're going back to it and it's fresh. Like these other gacha games that I played, where they're basically MMOs, where you're just constantly grinding, there's something to do. Yeah, it's enticing and enjoyable, but there comes a point where you do get burnt out because you've been playing so much and there's so much to do.
Right.
At least with Dokkan, it's kind of got this sweet spot where you can be super casual and you can be super hardcore, but you'll never lose the luster if you decide to flip back and forth. While like other games, the second you take a break, you're behind and you can never catch up. So you always have to keep pushing forward. That's not the case with Dokkan, because well, it's not a PvP game. So that's what the advantage Dokkan has as compared to Legends, where you got to be logging in every hour or every 3 hours, or you got to grind some of this and that. I mean, that Legends has so much to do that like now I'm burnt out. Like I just log in, do my couple things, and I'm done.
Yeah. I certainly do kind of approach like King of Fighters All-Stars, kind of a game where I take that approach. I finish the daily stuff and just kind of do enough to get by, and kind of go from there. But it's certainly interesting, obviously, to kind of hear each one's take on how they feel about Dokkan, because they only see the videos from us and they don't necessarily see how we go day to day, hour by hour or seconds by seconds or whatever the case is. So it's always good to have that extra kind of visibility on that. So certainly appreciate that. I guess I was actually going to talk about the whole to be released thing next, but before we get into that, so think about that during this next question. So Paul G actually brought up a pretty good point. He's essentially asking, like, what could the download celebration coming up later this year be to match the Ultra Instinct Goku and the Blue Fusion's obviously coming for 5-year and global. Like, you guys have a pretty jam-packed schedule coming up the next few months. So I mean, any thoughts on what could come about? I mean, what can top LR Ultra Instinct Goku? What can top the 5-year anniversary units?
I don't know if anything can necessarily top them as far as like hype goes. Because I think in general, Gogeta and Vegito are two of the most hyped characters in the franchise, right?
I would argue they're all three. They're like the top three.
Yeah.
So I guess the reason why I ask, right, is you guys remember how the 300 million download celebration was leading up to it, and once we found the animations or whatever for LR Gohan and Cell, like for me, I was extremely excited about it. I don't know if you guys agree with that testament or not, but that was a pretty hype generated period. Do you agree or no?
Absolutely, I agree. They even had the Dokkan now, building up the hype even more. So yeah, it was definitely a great way to get people, maybe the casuals who might have been shelving the game for a bit, to get them back into it. It was great.
So what could match that level going into, because obviously every year we've had some sort of download celebration the past few. So what are some potentials that could generate similar types of hype? Or are we expecting a more calm and collected type celebration for downloads?
No, that's not ever happening.
It's whatever it is. It has to be more hype. That's just marketing 101. They can't be going up this this hype train, building and building and building, and then plateau at something, and then just that's just gonna kill the vibe. If anything, maybe I'm just thinking out loud here, and maybe it's not the best idea, but could this potentially be like the start of a new meta, maybe a new leader type with a higher count? possibly, maybe 180%, 190, something like that.
What do you guys think about that? Is it about that time to go into the new stage, or what?
Just me? All right, cool.
Too early. I mean,
That's why I
here's
said
the
I'm
thing.
thinking out loud. Sitting on a
There's-
fence, baby.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, to be fair, I haven't done the extreme super bad road that just came to JP, but as far as like the current events in the game, there's nothing that you can't really beat with the current leader skills. There's no, it doesn't seem like there's the reason to introduce like the 190% or 200% or whatever leader skills at the moment, you know, until they release far harder stages that make it necessary.
I mean, this is why they design the games and we don't, right? But whatever they do, it has to enter into the conversation. But how does this compare to what we just got? So whatever they do, no matter how marketable or not marketable the character is, that question will always be there. How does this compare to the predecessor? Like, how does this compare to the relevant units? LR Goku, UI
It doesn't
Goku.
necessarily have to be about the units themselves. I mean, obviously the characters do matter, so it has to be characters that people care about, right? But I feel like if they really want to make it hype, because like I said, I don't think there's really characters that are more hype than UI Goku, Blue Gogeta, and Blue Vegito. But they could do something. Yep.
They could do heroes.
I think Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and LR Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta with LR Omega or Sin going to Omega, that would be pretty hype.
There would
At
be,
least to me.
but I, in my opinion, I don't think it would be more hype per se than Blue Gogeta and Blue Vegito.
No, but it doesn't have to be more. It just
Yeah.
can be the same level, right?
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna say they could potentially do something different as far as mechanics go, right? Like they introduced the active skills last year with the Super Saiyan 4s. So if
Yeah.
they just made some kind of minor tweak or like minor new feature, something like the exchange or you know, like on that level, right? Like it doesn't have to be too revolutionary, but just like some different mechanic that these cards have that no other cards have, it would still make them very hype just because they would be the first cards to have this new mechanic, right?
Yep. I agree.
Any thoughts, the mighty truth over there, Nostradamus? What do you predict coming up?
I mean, I actually have been saying I think Gogeta and Omega is what they'll do, especially because they haven't done GT since the LR Super Saiyan 4s. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I mean, considering there's only one version of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, right?
Yep.
And, you know, Ultra Instinct Goku, obviously, we had a free-to-play version, but up until recently, there was only one summonable version of that as well, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, I mean, I think it's about time for that. Speaking of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, great transition there, buddy. Thanks for bringing that up. To be released, final thoughts. This will be the last topic for the night. Final thoughts on that. What's the deal with... Okay, so let's just clarify for people that might not be... They're on the newer side. They weren't around. So basically, if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, the to-be release was basically with the download celebration period that came out. And the problem with that on global side was you guys didn't finish through the 120% meta. Is that correct?
Exactly. We were still on... I think the 120 lead that came out after it was Super 17. And we still had Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. We still had Gogeta, Janemba. So we were still like in the middle of it.
So is
cooler
that
too, yeah.
So was that a scheduling conflict created by Bandai, not necessarily a global shaft? Like, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, it's just results of the fact that JP and Global are not synced up, right? That's basically it.
Clearly a mistake too. Like that's not something they'll do again. They know
Yeah.
that.
So
Like that, if you want to say that was a global shaft, I would agree with that. Like them releasing without leader skills is asinine.
why? So I'm just trying to picture this, right? You're in the boardroom planning this out. It didn't cross anyone's mind that, guys, we didn't finish the 120% leads. We're about to introduce categories here. Like, are we sure we want to do this? You know?
What made it particularly, I think, egregious for a lot of players is that Renzi data mined it on the global side first. So people assumed it was going to be a global first unit. But then not only was it not global first, it wasn't even half as good as the JP version. So that's, I think, what had a lot of people thought about that too.
I wish I was around for this. I wish I could have witnessed all this.
No, you don't.
How long did you guys actually have to wait for the category leads for them to be updated?
I want to say around 3 months.
Yeah, it was when Gogeta and Janemba released.
Okay.
They had that was another thing that pissed me off too. By the way, the global shafted meme is because they took, I think it was Super Saiyan 4 Goku off the Gogeta banner. They meddled with the Gogeta and Janemba banners a little bit, but people were saying they were worse, even though they had Omega and Gogeta added to them, making them better banners than the JP versions. It's just I think they had more crappy units on there, and that was when the leader skills were introduced into the game as well.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting time. I don't know why. I still can't comprehend why that happened, but you live and learn, right? I mean, truth, you said it. They'll never make that mistake again, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. They know that.
No.
So how okay, so did they actually, so kind of remind me of how this actually happened. Like as soon as it dropped, it was already a TBA setting on the card itself. Like when it actually.
The first I saw of it was literally like, okay, because it was one of those times where both games, JP and Global, were in maintenance, right, when the banner dropped.
Yeah.
And leading up to that point, they had shown on JP's Twitter, like, you know, like, oh, the category meta, these were the units that introduced it, and the leader skills and stuff like that. And we just assumed that they'd be exactly the same on Global. There's no reason to think otherwise. And then the first I saw of it was people who were the first batch to get in the game on the scouter on the banner is where it said to be released. That was the first we saw of it.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? I mean, you go into the banner and that's what you see.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Well, hopefully, with all that being said, maybe the what would it be? The 350, or are we approaching 400 million? What would the
350.
350.
Oh, 350.
Just go by the trend, yeah.
So maybe we'll get a LR Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Shenron maybe.
And with the fact that you guys just got the Super Buu and the Gotenks and everything, it's more likely that they would lean in that direction instead of the Majin Buu saga, because that was like the early speculation, right? Because Android Cell Saga was the 300. The one before that was that Planet Namek Saga? No, well, I mean, you guys had some, like, I think that's just when I joined, so I don't exactly remember what happened there.
Weird. But it was a transforming Goku and Frieza, and then LR Goku.
And then
that's
LR
what it
Goku
was.
Frieza, yeah. So it kind of seemed like it was heading in that direction, but now with you guys getting Evil Buu and Gotenks and everything, it seems more likely that they would go in the GT direction, bring that back into relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, it would kind of make sense timing wise. I don't know, what's the other guy? What about Jiren? Everybody's been wanting an LR version of that too, right?
Well, you would assume that a new Jiren would come. I mean, a lot of people thought it was going to be like a dual Dokkan fest between a new Jiren and a new UI, because it's been so long since we had either one, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, now that we've gotten the global first UI.
I mean, I still think that could be the 6th year anniversary.
I mean,
6 year maybe, yeah.
Another transforming version of Goku maybe, where
It would definitely be MUI this time, right?
Yeah.
so it'll be just flat out MUI. Is that correct?
Yep.
I mean, if anything,
it would be sign into MUI, and then it would be just Jiren with the shirt on, and then
they absolutely would not with this LR sign UI Goku release. They wouldn't do a transfer.
I'll just start at MUI. That's fair. That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
if anything, this Ultra Instinct is an omen of things to come. I'll see myself out now.
Yeah, please do. Nolar, I mean, what about you, man? Anything come to mind with either celebration or even the 6th year?
Well, okay, so so we definitely know Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and a Shin going into Omega is going to come. Whether that comes for 350 or for 6 year, because the trend is every even year anniversary, it's been GT theme, right? So 2 year was Super Saiyan 4, the TURs. Year 4 anniversary was the LR Super Saiyan 4s. So, trending that 6 years should probably be GT themed as well. But the original Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Omega came from a download celebration, right? Was it 250 million?
Yeah, I think it was. Well,
it's 2 years ago.
Yeah, wasn't Kefla 2 years ago, right? With some sort of download celebration. Was that 250 or no?
I don't think Kefla was.
Well, Kefla came
I can't remember.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, so the point I was trying to make is like the one time the GT units came out, like a Dokkan Fest one, was a million download celebration, and then the even year anniversary. So it could go either way. Like it's either coming for 350 or it's coming for year 6. For some reason, we're in a TOP theme, so maybe we'll get some TOP stuff potentially. Which outside of UI and Jiren, like what else do you see? Like Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta against God Topo. Like we could use another transforming God Topo, so that would work. That would work.
I mean, a lot of people are clamoring for the Kaioken Blue Goku and Royal Blue Vegeta together. That's always been something that people have been talking about. But I think, honestly, I think to bring out more characters, they need to flesh them out more in the story first to make them more marketable, right? Because all we've got is just, certain moments. So if they really want to dive in more into the Tournament of Power, they kind of have to wait for the anime maybe to come back to give them more justification for merchandise and, all this other stuff to implement into Dokkan.
Yeah, that's actually. Sorry, go ahead.
Like, hesitant to do Tournament of Power stuff because that's like the biggest stuff they've got left, right? Like that's the hypest stuff. But now that Heroes, the door is open for Heroes stuff. Like
Heroes too. Yeah.
In the survey, now it's not surprising to me that the survey comes out where it's like, "Would you like Heroes stuff?" And everyone says yes, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, well sure. Here's LRUI Goku and Kefla." Then, like now they're going right into it. It's not surprising to me.
Yeah, thinking about all this, and we're kind of getting close to the 1 hour mark here, but forget about all the bickering back and forth between JP and Global. Which one gets shafted more? I mean, however way that sounds. I mean, let's talk about one thing that's becoming more or less a problem with the character names having multiple versions. Is there ever going to be a point where there's like a Dragon Ball Saga or DBZ or DBS or whatever assigned to the actual name to where it distinguishes certain characters between multiples of the same? Like, would that ever happen, or is that just not economically viable to do that?
That seems like a problem that would take place way so far down the road that it might not even be worth exploring, right? Because even though the Dragon Ball franchise is just an everlasting franchise, like it's always going to be there, is that something that's like, would the game exist that far into the future where we would get to that point where they would even have to worry about that kind of thing? Because it seems like that's still a pretty long ways out, right?
I mean, what do you guys think?
I don't think we're even close to that.
Yeah, I mean, they already kind of have a solution to the problem, and that's exchange mechanics, right? Exchange cards. So they could put another Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta / future Super Saiyan Future Trunks together, and you can still run them with the other Blue Vegetas, and so like they've already kind of got a solution. It's just that only now they've been like re-exploring it, because first time we've had the exchange mechanic was last year's 300 million download, and now we just got it back for the Boo. So I think they're now understanding like, okay, well now we can explore this a little more and kind of run with it. It's just that just to preface this, like the original transforming like cards, I always had an issue where I wanted to transform quick to get to that card. I wanted to play with the Blue Evolution Vegeta, not the Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. You know what I mean? So with exchange mechanics, they have to go about it in a way where either both sides of the exchange are appealing, or you can really get into that other state really fast. So if they bring out a Pikkon that exchanges into Gogeta, Super Gogeta, for example, either the Pikkon's got to be really good on its own, and you can choose to exchange for like another reason, like Pikkon's a really good defensive unit, and then bam, you go out for Gogeta for the quick offensive end, which would make sense thematically, or you're going straight from Pikkon into Gogeta like almost immediately, so kind of like bypasses it in a way. So I think like we don't need the extra little tail thing like DBS. This is Broly from DBS, and this is Broly from DBZ. We don't really need that. They have exchange mechanics to kind of work around it. It's just they're going to need to be a little more creative on how they execute it. That's from my perspective.
Yeah, and it almost seems like that whole mechanic could potentially be refined a lot more. Like basically my point being like specific battles to where you're kind of like forced into exchanging a unit. You know what I mean? Like a little bit more like more Dokkan events or whatever, where it's actually pivotal to where you want to exchange your units, or even go through several, whatever the case is. But I feel like we're still in the early state of that new mechanic. I mean, honestly, there's certain characters or cards that you don't want to necessarily exchange because of the passive or whatever skill set's better than the preceding unit or exchange unit or whatever. But yeah, we can certainly see some interesting things come about it.
For sure.
I see a comment from Saber, so this is actually a good way to close this out. Who wants to volunteer for a story time? He wants to hear the good old earlier days of Global Dokkan. Anybody have some interesting stories behind Global Dokkan back in the day?
I'm out.
Early.
Well, how many days is everybody in the game right now? As of like right now, like Tiger, how many days are you in?
Around 1200, 1250, something like that.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. Toon, you're one of the.
I'm the baby. I'm the baby. I think I'm like 560 something. I'm the baby. The first time that I played Dokkan was right when I accidentally pulled like 5 LR Goku Friezas before I even knew what the hell they were. That's when I started.
Yeah,
Dokkan.
that's a baby face for sure.
Yeah, I almost sold a couple of them because I was getting annoyed by getting the same unit. I thought that you're supposed to get one of everything, so I was very close to deleting them, not even bobbing them, but selling them because I got so many I could spare a few. Thankfully, I didn't, but I got no part in this. I'm too new.
I mean, I don't really remember anything specific about. I mean, obviously, like banners have come a long way. I feel like to like just being better value for your stones, as far as like the dual Dokkan fest and stuff like that. I mean, I do have a few stories about just like stupid mistakes I've made. Like I fed in one of my Super Saiyan 4 Gogetas for super attack. That was a good time. And also just like feeding in dupes for like dupe pats that didn't make any sense. Like for I think my AGL Rose. Actually, my AGL Rose, we're talking about it, has 2 dupes, and one of the dupes I believe is in like the bottom left path. So hopefully I can pull a couple and just fix him there. But I don't know. Like, does he have any specific questions or anything?
I think it's just more of like taking a trip down memory lane. I like for me, and we can kind of go around the circle after this. But for me, I think it mostly just comes down to like how difficult events actually were back then, and like how terrible links were. I don't think a lot of people remember like strike events actually had that 100 team cost limit or whatever back in the day, stuff like that. So it was actually, I guess the best example, right, is we all know the OG LR Goku event. That event was ridiculously difficult when it first came out. At least for me, it was, and stuff like that. So, it's interesting times for sure. I'm sure Nolar and Truth, all you guys can kind of share that opinion as well.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Before they changed it.
Well, actually,
that was rough.
What? I kind of had a makeshift experience that was kind of like that, because I'll just tell you, I have the propensity to do some very stupid things, and this was probably the early sign that I was going to be doing that throughout my days in Dokkan. For the longest time, I'd say like 2 to 3 months, I thought that your core team was your 6, and the 7th unit, the friend unit, was just a shining, like just a random fun added unit just for gigs and shiggles, right? I didn't really know that was an added friend lead for your team. So what I would do was I would run my random set of units, like they're all Super Saiyans and like Vegetos and stuff like that, and then I would bring a friend Frieza. And I thought that you would have to, like, it's just a cool random unit you can bring just to have fun. So I ran through all the Dokkan events at half the leader bonus, and I was struggling through all of them constantly, and I burned, I would say, at least over 100 stones, because I thought that it was a regular thing to lose halfway through. You'd have to burn a stone to revive yourself and keep going. One main example was the UI Goku event. That Spirit Bomb, I never knew about Ghost Ushers or anything like that. I just kept losing over and over and over, and I would burn 20 to 30 stones at a time doing that event with half my leader skill, because I thought that the random unit was just supposed to be anyone you wanted.
I just want I want to get across the computer screen right now and just smack you right now.
You're so stupid, man. No,
The amount of face palming right now.
Nobody told me. Nobody told me because I wasn't, making YouTube videos or anything. I was just playing it by myself. I had no clue. And then once I learned that revelation, when I learned, I was so upset.
Well, I actually have something I want to ask Truth. You have an interesting story, whereas you originally played global for a little while, right? And then you switched over to JP, and it's been no looking back since. But when was that exactly? Do you remember?
I started playing like a week before AGL Super Vegito came out. It was actually a coincidence. I didn't start because of him, but he just got announced. Like, I actually think, when I first downloaded the game, I played for about an hour, then it went into maintenance, and then Vegito was announced after the maintenance had ended.
Yeah.
I then played only global until LR Rose, his data download happened.
Yeah.
And I said, well, no, I am not waiting 5 months for this. I'm starting JP. And I've been playing JP since, basically. For a little while, I maintained both global and JP accounts, but then quickly I was like, oh, well, there's just no reason to play global anymore.
It's funny you mentioned the agility Vegito. I actually have very fond memories of that banner. That was the first banner I became no longer free to play, and I became pay to play. And that was, the banner that I ended up spending money on and never looking back since. So it's fond memories with that one for sure. I don't know if I regret that decision or not. I'm actually okay with the decision making along the lines.
I mean, I always tell people, if they are considering to go pay to play, if they're currently free to play, I just tell them, try to stay free to play if you can. I feel like, I mean, yes, you can get all the more stones and stuff like that, but it also feels worse, in my opinion, if you spend a lot of money and get nothing, right? So yeah, that's what I usually advise people to do. If you're free to play and you're thinking about going to pay to play, try to stay free to play if you can.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, they got my ass. So obviously the reason why I put in money was I got tired of getting shafted, right? And then as soon as I load in money, I go in the banner and I pull Vegito and Broly. So I'm like, okay, all right, this is what happens when I pay to get units. I get them right away. So
positive reinforcement.
Yeah, they suck my ass in. So I know Nolar, Truth, you guys can share that opinion on that one too. Once you go back, you never return.
Yeah, I mean, to echo what Tiger said, at least if you're thinking about, spending, at least with global, now you have Pilaf's treasure trove, you've got the subscription thing, so like you can throw in $5, or how much is it, the sub now? I forget.
$10?
$10? Sure, $10.
I think there are two options. Yeah, $10. Yeah.
I'm sure there's like the cheap one and then the top one, like the $10 or whatever. So like, if you're gonna spend, that would be the only thing I would like start with if you were going to even contemplate. But yeah, again, it just feels bad when you you burn, swipe your credit card a few times and you're like, I got shafted, like hard.
Yeah.
And guys, back in the day, there was no GSSR. The rates were 3%.
3%, yes.
Okay. Like I played May of 2016. So there's like a couple months on global. I was a global main for May of 2016 until Buhan was announced on JP. I forgot when that was. I think it was like October or November. So for 5 months I was a global main and I was spending that. But I got shafted super hard on the global Gogeta first year anniversary banner. Like 125 multis, paid multis, and I didn't pull a single Gogeta.
Ouch.
Jesus.
And how many dead multis were there? There were at least 50 of them that were dead, like no no SSRs at all.
Yeah. People don't remember what dead multis actually represented back in the day.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, when I mean dead multis, I mean 9 Rs and an SR. Because you're guaranteed an SR, okay?
Yeah,
the dead multis.
I remember when back in the day when that was actually good. You were guaranteed an SR. Like early days, like when it first went live or whatever.
How long did that last? The whole SR meta. How long did that last?
I mean,
we got GSSRs just a little bit after year 3 anniversary, like a couple months after. I think that's when we got the GSSRs. But you mean like actually using SR units? Up till like Gogeta first came out, you could still use SR units.
yeah, it's funny how like initially when the game first launched, the Strat SR first form Frieza was considered the one to re-roll for, you know, stuff like that. So times have definitely changed for sure. But yeah, it's certainly been interesting talking about the whole debate to begin with. We're kind of getting close, a little past the 9 p.m. time, so we'll have to close that here in a little bit. But I think this type of discussion was that.
I was one thing I was holding on to that I wanted to kind of bring up and to see what you guys are thinking or just talk about. But one point that some people bring up to me sometimes, I don't really have an answer for it either, is quality of life changes, right? Like the hidden potential system, for example, where you could click on a whole path and just activate
go all the way there.
kind of stuff, and also just like moving faster on the map to make running events more efficient or just less painful, right? All that stuff. Like, why can they not just implement that on both versions at the same time?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. And ultimately, I think it just comes back to the whole scheduling issues between JP and Global. Obviously, JP came out however months before Global did, and I guess they're a little bit stubborn when it comes to certain things of maintaining a schedule, even with version updates or whatever. That's just
it just doesn't make a ton of sense. I mean, you think about like it's not really affecting them financially, right? To release like a system that makes the game a little bit more or less painful to play, right? Like the hidden potential thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
something they could, just like give to both sides at the same time.
Yeah, I guess my take is only stubbornness, so I'll leave mine at that.
Well, I think the other thing too is like they kind of use the JP player base as guinea pigs for if there are any critical bugs or stuff that can be vocalized. Like, and then it's like you're only getting one player base that's bitching about it instead of the global player base bitching about it at the same time. I mean, that might be a little stretching a little too much on like for reaching a reason, but that would be reason enough to be like, all right, JP player base as big as it is, it's not as big as the global one. So fixing bugs would be a lot easier with them, I guess. And then, okay, because you notice when quality of life updates come on JP, not too far behind global gets it. So it's like the JP gets the first round, bugs has come out, they figure it out, they fix it, and then global gets like the improved version not too far later, right? So I think that's or at least that's what I would imagine is their reasoning for doing it that way, instead of just, hey, everyone gets the same quality of life updates and then now we got to figure out all the code for all the messes at the same time. I mean, that's what I think.
That, and they don't want glitches to happen on both versions where they have to distribute 300 stones on both sides, right? Truth, Toon, any thoughts?
I mean, to stretch that theory even further, what Nolar was talking about, maybe another justification could be to kind of maintain consistency in the playing experience that people have when playing both JP and Global. JP has an issue. After X amount of time, they get a fix for it, and then boom, they're set. And if there's any issues, like Nolar was saying, they fix it. And then for Global, same thing. So they still have to wait out the same period that JP had to go through, just to keep things consistent, I guess. Like we're consistently behind with the units that are dropped for the most part. So I guess to that end, they might as well just keep it the same with the quality of life things as well. Again, I'm just trying to stretch it as a little further to think of something, but that's pretty much all I can think of. Nolar pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I guess those are reasonable explanations. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are still not convinced that, like,
of course, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a quality of life game. You would think it's easy. Yeah, you would think
I
it's
personally
easy.
still feel like it could totally be implemented on both sides, like something like the hidden potential system, for example. So if you wanted to say, if there is somewhat of a global shaft, maybe that's something you could point to. But as I said in the beginning of this stream, I don't think, especially these days, I think they're making a lot of good moves on global to really make it so there's not really a shaft. There's been like banners in the past where like the banner on global is just straight up worse than the banner on JP. that has happened before. But
Now
these days, it's pretty much the same with every
Yeah,
release.
I was about to say they've gotten better about that. I remember too, like hearing about how they would switch up the banners left and right, and people would be kind of mad about it. But I guess the general consensus here is they've gotten much better about that, right? Where it's a lot more
Yeah.
similar between the two.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just going back to one thing we were talking about earlier in the stream, I think the first banners that had tickets exclusively for global was the dual Dokkan Fest between Janemba and Gogeta. I think that was the first time. Because I don't think JP had that, right? There were no tickets.
We've never had.
Yeah, we've
We never had tickets.
Yeah, okay, so I think that was the first time that global got them then.
yeah. Well, I guess at the end of the day, if the debate ever comes up, tickets. that's what I'll say. Tickets.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, probably, yeah.
I mean, there have been injustices is not. It might be too strong of a word, but I mean, there has been stuff like that in the past, obviously, where this whole thing originated obviously somewhere. So, it didn't just come out of thin air unless somebody trolled us, and here we are talking about it today. I don't know what
I
happened.
mean, isn't the main thing just the 300 stones?
I mean,
Is that
is that how things really started? Because I just have a hard time thinking like you global guys would have gotten the equivalent amount of stones had the same bug or glitch occurred or misrepresentation or whatever. But that's happened on the global side too with something, right? And there was a whole debate about you guys got less stones or not even compensation about it, right?
Well, I think that it's just the whole. I think there's some people out there just straight up believe that like it wasn't really that big of an issue, and it made no sense that many stones were given out. And I think a lot of people don't really even take the time to really understand exactly what happened. They just see 300 stones and global not having 200 stones.
yeah.
And that's all they can see, right?
Yeah, I mean, 300 stones, that was a lot.
It's a lot,
Back
yeah.
then, that was quite a bit of stones. On top of that, we had the whole refunds with the Rose banner, right? I think this was brought up earlier with the...
Also, with the 300 stones, those that summoned on Kefla's banner got refunded for that too.
Oh, did that happen? I think I wasn't early enough to get the advantage on that one.
There was
Yeah, neither was I.
that got all their stones refunded on the Kefla banner, plus they got the 300.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that was a great deal at that time.
I actually was not awake when the banner dropped that day, so
Yeah,
I didn't,
yeah.
but I did get 750 refunded from the Rose banner to me.
Yeah, that was, yeah. God, I wish I was awake right when it dropped and blew everything.
Oh,
Can you imagine like you right now in your schedule of burning through so many stones and you got everything back and like whatever compensation came with it?
oh.
That would have been a crazy times. But all right, well, before we turn this into a midnight long situation with the debate, because we could obviously go on forever, we'll have to close the loop here. I think Toonrami, you got a stream coming up too, right?
That's right. I got a
All right,
stream
well.
coming up, so I gotta prep for that.
Well, I guess you guys can hop on over to that one and just make fun of him for whatever hours he spends. I don't know what you're doing, but good luck to you on that one. Look, just to be clear, I have every right to get back to him. All right, he's been mimicking me left and right for the past whatever month, so I can.
It's only fair. It's only fair. As your evil twin, I accept these.
I'll be
these
honest, man. That
conditions.
impression is very on point. Like, you know that video he made on his channel about it was like the April Fool's
Yeah,
thing.
people
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was Jin.
I thought it
Yeah.
was you, man. I thought that was you.
Yeah, we'll expect more of that to happen for sure. And I think I'm gonna have to start, I don't know, raising my pitch or talking differently or whatever to just distinguish. But all right, Toonrami, you got the shout out. But I definitely do have to thank Tiger, Nolar, Truth. Truth, you're grinding in World Tournament. You were nice enough to hop in. Tiger, you literally just got done, grinding, in the stream or whatever. So I certainly appreciate that. And Nolar, you were also grinding World Tournament on a stream as well, right?
Yeah, for about 4 hours, and I'm still grinding here. So
Yeah, so I'd certainly appreciate you guys coming, hopping on this discussion. It was certainly a hot topic, and it definitely made it a lot more enjoyable having you guys on.
well, thanks for having us. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
All right, hopefully the comment section, I was monitoring as much as I could. I'm just going to ignore that for now. But hopefully the comment
good.
section wasn't going too crazy. Hopefully everybody kept it civil for the most part. So again, for everybody watching, joining the stream, certainly appreciate you guys hopping on as well. We'll see what topics come to mind. Maybe we'll try and keep a schedule Friday as well next week. We'll come up with some other good topic to discuss. If not, just let me know on Twitter or whatever, and we can kind of go from there. But it is 9:20 p.m. I do need to start grinding World Tournament a little bit. I think I'm just going to do the basic missions, but after that, I'm just drinking some no juice and call it a night.
No juice. That's right. Yeah.
No juice.
All right. So with that being said, thanks everybody hopping on the stream, and you guys have a good Friday night. All right. We'll catch you guys later.
Dokkan responsibly, people.